flooded.
I think it's cool the clam man has got a life preserver on.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 4th Muscatine City Council meeting. Cindy, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Spread,
Present.
Harvey,
Present.
Brockert,
Present.
Saucedo,
Present.
Brackett,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Malcolm,
Present.
7 present, 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We're going to go ahead and move along with tonight's agenda, and we're going to start with asking if there's anybody here in the audience who would like to speak to council about something not currently on tonight's agenda. Hearing nothing, we'll continue to move forward to our consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes items 6A and B, items 8A through K, items 9A, items 12A through C, and tonight's bills totaling $6,078,667.61.
So moved, Your Honor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Saucedo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes, and the motion carries. We are going to move along down to number 7. We have 2 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing is for the franchise fee increase. The City Council of the City of Muscatine established a utility franchise fee for Interstate Power and Light for the natural gas distribution system within the city limits of the City of Muscatine with the adoption of Ordinance 91191-0410 in April of 2010. Section 7 of that ordinance provided that the franchise fee may be increased or decreased by giving a 90-day notice to the utility with the fee limited to a maximum of 5%. The franchise fee rates have been increased and decreased by the City Council since originally implemented, with the most recent franchise fee set by Ordinance 94331-0618 at 2%. The City of Muscatine budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1 includes an increase in the utility franchise fee from the current 2 to 5% effective July 1 of 19. Due to the hearing not being held March 21st of 2019, Council is now holding a hearing and reconsidering the franchise fee ordinance. Now is the time for the public to comment. Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Our second public hearing tonight is a utility easement vacation at 3435 Claremont Drive. Do we have any information on this that's not, or that was besides what was posted? All right, well, this is the public hearing, and now is the time for the public to comment. If you have any questions, comments, nothing, motion to close.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Wasn't sure if I heard everybody there. Motion carries. We're going to move on down to 9, and we have one proclamation tonight that I'm pleased to read. Whereas the City of Muscatine recognizes Junior Achievement of the Heartland's purpose to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy. Whereas the City of Muscatine will observe JA Day on April 4th, 2019, today, as an opportunity to recognize and celebrate Junior Achievement of the Heartland for empowering our young people to own their economic success. Whereas Junior Achievement of the Heartland's educational contribution equips our young people to become the next generation of productive employees and self-sufficient citizens to ensure the economic prosperity of Muscatine. Whereas Junior Achievement of the Heartland includes opportunities for educators, parents, and community volunteers to connect classroom learning to life after graduation. Whereas it is fitting for Muscatine to support the goals of Junior Achievement of the Heartland, and we encourage the continuing partnership of business, education, and community in achieving these said goals. Whereas it is fitting for parents, educators, businesses, and other members of the community to join the celebration in an effort to ensure the future success and economic health of our young people and the communities in which they live. Now, therefore, I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of Muscatine, do hereby proclaim official recognition of April 4, 2019 as Junior Achievement Day in the city of Muscatine. I'd like to present this to Jim Nepple. Jim, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Would you like to say a couple words about
Yes.
JA, if you like?
I would.
Oh, prepared.
The Junior Achievement USA is celebrating 100 years this year, and its commitment to students to be 100% ready for the future. We provide this from kindergarten through high school with knowledge, skills in financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. When we compare the general public to JA alumni through materials that do surveys for junior achievement and other national nonprofit organizations, JA has a higher percentage by a substantial amount for students graduating from high school, graduating from college, earning more money, and inclined to start their own business. JA started in Muscatine in 1985. We had 4 middle school classes. 34 years later, we have 106 programs offered in the Muscatine schools, 80 community volunteers, and JA curriculum from K through 12. Through the support of businesses, we now provide these programs to more than 2,200 students in the city of Muscatine each school year. So declaring April 4th to be Junior Achievement Day is a good celebration for the city of Muscatine for moving from 4 classes and 72 students to 106 programs and 2,200 students in 34 years. We appreciate all the support we get from the City Council and the City of Muscatine and the school district for allowing our business people to come into the classroom and help the students understand more about business literacy. Thank you, City Council and Mayor.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your volunteer work that you do to help this program be successful. We're going to continue on with the agenda. We're on 11A. Presented for City Council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance to increase the utility franchise fee for interstate light and power and light, from 2% to 5%. The City of Muscatine budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 19 includes an increase in the utility franchise fee from the current 2% to 5% effective July 1 of 19. It is also requested that the City Council consider waiving the second and third readings and approve the ordinance amendment on first and final reading. Is there a motion to approve the statutory rule requiring said ordinance to be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion?
I'm just going to, again, voice my opposition to waiving the additional readings because I think that regardless of whether anyone was here to speak on it tonight, that we should follow that procedure and not waive readings on items. So that's just my statement on that. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, this is an ordinance, we better do a roll call vote. Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
No.
The resolution, or the statute, the motion to waive the statutory rule passes with a 6-1 vote. And now, because that passed, we are going to go ahead and move, and I would ask for a motion to adopt the ordinance on first and final reading as submitted and to direct for its publication as required by law.
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
That was you, Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
And a second by Councilman Saucedo. Is there any discussion now? Hearing none. Councilman Saucedo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. 11B, presented for City Council's consideration, is the first reading of an ordinance amending Title II, Boards and Commissions, to include Chapter 14, Public Art Advisory Commission. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance as submitted?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Saucedo. Is there any discussion?
I have just one question. Will the nominees for these members go through the nominating committee
Yes.
as with all other?
Required to, yes.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Hearing nothing else, Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
The motion is approved with all ayes. We're on 11C. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution to approve vacating certain utility easements at Lot 45 and Outlot A of Riverbend Second Edition, 3435 Claremont Drive, and this is what we were talking about in public hearing B. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
And Councilman Saucedo.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving a sidewalk or street cafe easement agreement with Boonies on the Avenue. This agreement would allow outdoor dining under the provision of Section 316 of the City Code. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Is there a second?
Second, yeah.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion?
I have some questions. In regards to this, maybe Jim could help me out on this. Do we not have any sort of protection for that area as far as vehicle traffic? Do we need to, request, or do we ever have potential pipe bollards or anything like that as far as where that's at in regards to vehicle losing control or somebody coming over and hitting that? Or are we structurally building this in the request that they're going to be able to protect themselves? I mean, I know it's not something that we do a lot of, but at the same time, the people that are going to be eating there.
Mayor, Council. This is just strictly at Boonies, right? So
Yeah.
this is
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's any other places.
Right,
would
but this
do
one
that.
we're talking about is just strictly that.
Yes.
So I have two things I wish to say about that, and in response to your question about safety. We've done this for multiple years, 3 at least,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Yeah, I know,
Or
3.
four.
maybe.
Sure.
I don't think we're aware of any instances that have occurred. Now, does that necessarily give it the stamp of it's super safe? No, it doesn't. I actually think, and from my own driving experience, there's nothing like a bollard or a safety or something out there to protect it from traffic. Maybe we should rethink that. Maybe that's a good idea. But from my own experience, during the summer when that's there and I drive by there, I tend to slow down because it just feels like the street's getting really super narrow there. So I think part of the safety is just how slow everybody goes past there. Could we do something to make it more safe? Possibly, yes.
So and maybe, again, I'm paying and listening to what your feedback is. Could we look at maybe reflective tape or something around some of their corners, things like that, just to help identify it? Because at night, it's just dark wood. There's no lighting, there's really nothing that identifies it. And I would rather say that we made some steps to be preventative than be reactive. If we said, hey, yeah, we approved it, and truck lost control, blew a tire, went in there and hit something.
The requirements the requirements are the owner or the business's requirements. I don't think we want to make any improvements.
And so I understand that, but
that's addressed in the easement agreement. So if we would like to ask them to take a look at that and see if there's some more safety improvements, I would certainly suggest that we talk to Boonies, but I don't think we want to get in the middle of making those improvements.
But we're allowing them to be able to get closer to the vehicle traffic.
Correct, but the grant of the easement addresses the grantor's improvements and traffic controls requirements, indemnification. So if they were looking, if we're looking for them to make some additional improvements, I think it would be on the property owner or the business to make those improvements, not the city.
We could certainly get with Booney and suggest maybe something.
Sure.
And that's really what I'm trying to get at. It's more around, I'm not saying that we have to build it, but at the same time, if we allow this, then at the same time, when another business comes around and asks for the same thing, we're gonna say, well, we just, you let them build it with no, safety barricades or no sort of protection from, the people that are eating there, nor the vehicles that may potentially get close to there and just rub by there of some sorts. And I don't know, that's what I'm saying. It could be some sort of reflective tape. It could be some sort of potentials, and that it's something that I think that we should at least, discuss. Because it's close to that.
Can I charge off a lunch at Booney's if I go there to talk to him and have lunch? No,
That's
okay.
not on me.
Never mind.
That's
Never
not on me. That's on Greg.
And I was just wondering, I don't know that they've done it every year. Did they put some large concrete planters in the 1 year?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I don't remember.
Seem to remember that.
No.
Was that Guadalajara?
Yeah.
You could even do some black and yellow or black and white reflective tapes areas in the corners. I don't know, just something, because at night, yeah, you may not see some stuff there. It's just more closer to it, and I just want to be cognizant
So
of that.
that's your major concern is just visibility at night?
Visibility and concerns for that protection, that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we could just make a
Right.
suggestion that they get some reflectors and screw them onto the
Well,
outside. of
again, I
the-
mean, that's something that we would discuss, but
Along
that
those
would be
lines.
my request, that if I were to approve that, to say that we have some sort of, from a city saying that we're protecting the people that are eating there as well.
Well, it could be a requirement as part of the easement information. That part of the requirement is they're allowed to put that in the street or in that
Or
area.
close to it, yeah.
Or close to it.
And I think that's kind of what you
And they
were.
need to have some reflectors or something on the corners that,
And section 4 refers to traffic controls, so yes,
Yeah.
it's already
I
in
think
there.
there is a clause in that.
It does,
easement,
it just says creating a safety hazard in public. It's, I just,
We'll get with them and make some suggestions.
okay, that's all I have.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
And Councilman Salcedo.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11E. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution to rescind the resolution to accept the traffic safety Improvement Program grant. Because of the recent vote to not proceed with this project, the Iowa Department of Transportation has asked for a copy of the resolution to rescind the agreement. This documentation is also needed to close out the project. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
We have, Councilman Harvey, will you second?
Certainly.
We have a motion by Councilman Malcolm with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'd like to propose an amendment to this resolution on the second whereas of the resolution. It says, the City Council of Muscatine, City of Muscatine voted 5-2 not to approve the mini roundabout. I'd like to amend that to say the City Council of Muscatine voted 5-2 on March 7th, 2019, not to approve the, there's no date on that whereas, and I think we ought to identify the date that we rejected it.
I would second that.
Thank you.
Are you doing that in a second motion, or are you just changing up the original?
I'm changing the language, and I guess it'd
Okay.
have to be a resolution or a amendment.
Amendment or a motion and a second, either one.
I seconded.
He
the-
seconded it.
Okay.
So do we need two separate votes on this?
Yes.
Yes, so we're going to go with the first,
Yeah,
we'll do the first one
To add the
first.
date,
Yes,
to add the date, March
okay.
7th.
So to add the date of March 2nd of 2019 to this, to the document,
March 7th.
March 7th, sorry. Councilman Saucedo, how do you vote? Aye. Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Nay.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nay.
And Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Well, the vote carries to change it, to add the date in there.
Any further discussion, Mayor? I would like to ask, I guess, that's, if there's one of the, because I was on the, in the losing side, if there's one of the five that are in the, was on the prevailing side, if they would consider reconsideration of this before we pass the money back to the state and do the roundabout.
Well, we didn't get the money yet. You don't get the money till you do the work.
By doing the resolution, you're not going to get the money.
Right.
I just wonder if anybody's has it in their mind to reconsider their motion.
Well, I was one that
action.
voted no, and I am still an adamant no. So that's me.
Anybody
I'm still
wanting to
no.
change?
No.
Okay, it's fine then.
Okay. So we're on the original resolution then to rescind the agreement. And Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nay.
And Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 5-2. We're on 11F, presented for City Council's consideration, is a resolution approving an amended development agreement with JNB Oak Park LP Incorporated. The city has previously authorized and executed a development agreement with TIF Oak Park Incorporated in connection with the development of a senior living complex. It is now requested that a new amended agreement be approved by council. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
What is the difference between the two?
None of the terms and conditions relevant to the city. They've changed just going to look here, the ownership, which was TIF Oak Park. They now have JNB. And TIF Oak Park is a partner in JNB Oak Park LP and is also the owner of the land. So for tax purposes, they requested and converse with the city's bond council and made the amended document that you have before you to meet those requirements. But there are no changes relevant to the city's portion or requirements related to TIF.
So it's just a name change.
Name change for tax purposes.
Okay.
But there, so when Chris Ailes came to us and talked to us in regards to this, he had made some comments about we're gonna be hiring local people, we're gonna do all of this work with our company. Is that changed at all as far as it still being involved, or is he not involved in this?
I don't know how involved Chris Ailes is at this point in time.
Because he was the one that came over and provided all this stuff, and I thought
He
that
was the
TIF.
representative, but J&B was the property owner, and Tiff Oak Park was the original signer of the first TIF agreement. So that, they're still a partner in J&B. I think it's just, is my understanding, this is strictly
In the Iowa Economic Development Program, it stated
tax issue.
if they changed ownership within, they couldn't change ownership in the first 15 years to get that tax credit.
No.
And that's why I was wondering, I mean, yeah, we were saying they, owners change, but then there's the developer. That's the confusing part for me, but then you said they're still partners, so then that even throws another just scratching my head type look at it.
Mayor and council, so through the tax credit process, there is an applicant. Once the tax credits are awarded, it is standard practice to create a new ownership entity that is a limited liability company or a limited partnership for the tax credit equity investors to be members of. Because of the structure that that the tax credits require with the equity investors and the actual owners, long-term, that's standard practice. So
Okay.
now they won't, now they've closed on their tax credits, they won't change their ownership again.
So then this group will still stay the same name, J&B, for the next 15 years?
Yes.
As owners of that, because that was the thing that I was reading through that, because I was like, I don't want somebody to come in here, buy it, turn around, do the work, and then get the $3+ million from the state and sell it.
No, it actually will stay, so some of the partners will stay in. What will happen at the end of the 15 years is likely that the primary owners that were the applicants for the TIF and for the tax credits will buy out the equity investors because they've gotten the tax credits out of it, and so it will then stay in operation as it is on day one.
Mayor, Council, the only thing I would add is that the same that nothing's really changed since the beginning. The individual that controls J&B has always been the person kind of financing and who had hired Chris Ailes. So I think it's just different legal entities that.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Yep, I'm good.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Jody probably would answer this one. I hear low and moderate income housing and senior housing. Which one is it, or is it both? I'm confused.
It's both. So it targets households 55 and over that are at low and moderate income. So they have to earn less than 60% of the area median income when they move in.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking this in paragraph 4 of the document I was given, it says low, it doesn't say seniors or anything, just low to moderate income housing, but other stuff is saying seniors, so.
They have, through the resolution the council adopted with the allocation of project-based vouchers, as well as through the covenants that are in place through Iowa Finance Authority, through the tax credit project, it is mandated to be a senior property for the next 15 years.
Okay, okay.
Hearing nothing else. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
And Councilman Saucedo.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11G. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution accepting the dedication of right-of-way and a grant of easement for a public sidewalk. In accordance with the approved development plan, the developer of the Oak Park Apartments has submitted a dedication of right-of-way along Izard Avenue and a grant of easement for a portion public sidewalk along Blaine Street. For a portion of the public sidewalk along Blaine Street. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
in the diagram that was attached to the reference material, there's a right-of-way that's along Blaine Street, which I think this specifically mentions. And there's also right-of-way along Isett that I guess we're going to also be in. Is this both right-of-ways on this resolution or just the one on Blaine Street? Because I think the legal description only addresses the one.
Mayor, council, this dedicates, it's a dedication of right-of-way along Isett, and then it's a grant easement that's adjacent to the right-of-way on Blaine Street, so it's two separate things.
So it's, both of them are in this
Correct.
resolution? Okay.
So he is gonna put a sidewalk on Isaac?
No.
You have a question?
No, I'm good with
The sidewalk on questions on Blaine, the reason it's going out of the right-of-way, there's some mature trees there that they wanted to avoid taking down, so this seemed like a reasonable solution.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on April 18th of 2019 for the 2019 full-depth concrete patch project. Public Works Department has compiled a list of streets to be full-depth concrete patched during fiscal year 2020. Prior to awarding the bids, a public hearing is required. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'd request that both the council and the public, maybe through the website, be presented with the list of the streets for the full depth so that
It's on the next agenda.
spec- well ahead so that they have actually time to look at it before
Sure,
the
sure.
public hearing.
Okay. Sounds
And-
reasonable.
And you'll also note that it's earlier council requests that we still have some left from 2019, but council asked that it come forward earlier in the year so we can get started on it, so.
So it's, you will see that it gets on the website at least?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So you made a comment that there's still some left from last year, this year. So they're doing some of the full depth now?
Yes. Second Avenue is all torn up.
Okay. So we had made a discussion also, if that's the case, that we were requesting either on this one, or is it gonna be now that we start getting lights to be able to help with traffic?
Mayor, council, it will be this upcoming one,
Okay.
the one that goes into this coming fiscal. And so those are in there.
For the FY 2020s.
For the FY, so in July?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like me to read them?
No.
No.
Oh, you mean the streets? No, I was just more around, just wanting to more around traffic safety, just wondering if we were gonna buy them, it wouldn't be
Require them to
to
have
do it
more
already, it was just kind of
better
more.
planning. Thank you.
So Mayor, I have one
Yes.
request based on what he just, the administrator just pointed out. We have some from last year that got stopped because of weather and
Right.
other issues. Is it possible that council gets an email to tell us which ones didn't get done and what the schedule is for those going forward? Just to let us know where we are.
Finishing on, you want an email or you want me to tell you?
No, just email it to us.
Okay, cool.
We can read
We
it.
will do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Hearing nothing else, Councilman Saucedo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11I. presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution rejecting all bids received for the high-strength waste receiving station project at the Water and Resource Recovery Facility. The bids have come in over budget by a significant amount, and staff has determined that cost reductions alone will not allow the project to move forward. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Malcolm with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
And Councilman Spread.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes.
I find it interesting when Mr. John is here for money, he's present when he doesn't want any money. He can't make it. Isn't that interesting? I just want that on the record.
Uh-oh.
Oh, see, there you go.
Jim's got to add something.
Mayor, Council, John asked me to express his regrets at not being able to be here. He had a previous commitment, and he had asked me to answer any questions that had come up. So he wanted to be here.
And this will be on next week's agenda for discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Thanks, Jim. So presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on April 18th of 2019 for the high-strength waste receiving project. This public hearing will concern the revised plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Saucedo with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, two things. Since this public hearing is 2 weeks away, and I guess you indicated we're going to talk about it,
John's going to bring it forward at the
Yep.
in-depth session to bring his recommendations forward. Yes.
I just wanted to be sure the information is out there well ahead of the
Public hearing, yes. So it'll be on for discussion next week. John's planning to bring his recommendations forward.
I don't have anything specific, but so many times we have public hearings and the information's not available until practically the same day.
Right.
And I don't think that's really appropriate. So I'm going to be raising that question, at least for the rest of my term.
Thank you, Councilman.
And you knew him after that.
Hearing nothing else, Councilman Saucedo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
And Councilman Fitzgerald.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11K, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $65,000 to Martin and Whitaker for the construction, staking, and record drawing for Phase 4B West Hill Sewer Separation Project. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question, Jim. Do we ever put that out for bid? Do we just give that directly to them?
Mayor, Council, it has been the city's practice for at least the 4 years I have been here to negotiate that price with them and to award to them. So it has not been put out to bids in that period of time.
Why?
That is a good question. First of all, Martin Whitaker is involved in the survey for the design of that. So they have a contract with Stanley's. If we were to advertise that, or not advertise, but competitively bid that, certainly we could maybe find somebody that would do it for a lower price, but certainly we feel that they are by far and away the most qualified to do it. So it is a professional services agreement.
Which does not require
Yeah,
bidding.
which does not
And I
require
understand
that.
that, it's just more me
And
asking.
they are local.
Is there true value in what we're getting, and that's all I'm asking. When you see something like that, do we share it? Have we looked at other places? Is that something, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. It's just my thought process is
We are
really
working.
double checking. Are we keeping ourselves balanced out by looking at that and verifying it? Because, you know, what if we did find somebody that could do it for 30?
Yeah, we do, and we are in the process of right now working hand in hand with them, you know, the contractors' technology is catching up incredibly fast and if not surpassing the way you usually do construction staking. We're working with them hand in hand right now to just take data and download it into the contractors' total stations and basically do everything stakeless. And this year is a big push to do all of that. We did one section of 7th Street last year. That way it worked out really well. So we're working hand in hand with them to decrease those costs. And that's a not to exceed figure. It's up a little bit from last year, but that's because there's some costs that are going to run through us that are going to be reimbursed by MPW because there's water main work in there that needs to be staked. So they are also able to take that, work both sides of that, parse that bill out as to who's responsible for what. So
How do we get those as-bills done? Do they come back? Do they give you like a CAD drawing or something, or what do we get out of that?
we get a CAD drawing back from that. I mean, mostly what it comes off of that is the PDF that goes with it, the electronic file.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. Next, we have presented for City Council's consideration a request to approve the week of spring cleanup for April 22nd through 26th of this year. Large household items may be left curbside for pickup week. Tires can be dropped off free of charge the week of May 6th, and electronics can be dropped off free of charge the week of May 13th, all at the transfer station. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion?
Quick question, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
The special weeks for electronics and tires, is that the only time they can bring them to the transfer station for free?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They'll have to show an ID or something.
Right, we check, make sure they're a resident, and that's the same as it was when it ran concurrent with the curbside collection. We just took those days and moved them afterwards.
Spread the manpower out a little bit.
I was wondering whether, because you didn't want to accept those at curbside, it was a way of separating those away from the curbside.
Right.
By scheduling for a different week.
Right.
I assume that's the
That's
reasoning
the
behind it.
biggest issue with that is staffing. It frees up, during spring cleanup, a little more staffing to help out.
Last year, it was moved where you had to take your tires down. This year, they switched it to a different week
Correct.
to help even more.
Did we change anything from last year to this year?
Just changing the days, the weeks.
So when the concrete that we have, that was always that we could never, I thought there was like a certain amount or something small I thought that we had.
Concrete is a free service year-round. So we took that out of the spring cleanup week.
It has to be dropped off.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
one question I have, Your Honor, is are we publishing this information, the dates into the media, and so it will be well known that the swap meet will take place on, that's basically what it is.
It's been pretty well publicized, and I
Well,
know
with
you're
the new
continuing.
dates. Okay.
Yes, it will.
And Dave came on the mayor's show, our city show, and we explained all the changes and all the differences. And
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed
and so that's all right. That's out there on videotape for people to hear all the explanation of the whys and hows and whens and.
Yeah. And Kevin has it prepared for the website.
Yep.
It'll go in the paper, so.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11M. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to review possible alternatives for the new airport hangar construction. On October 10th of 2018, the city received bids for the new airport hangar project and the airport apron project related to the new hangars. Due to issues with outside funding for the hangar project, it was determined to be in the best interest of the city to reject all bids received. City staff, working with Bolton and Mank, have provided 2 alternatives to consider if the city is interested in proceeding with the construction of the new hangars. So, do we have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
Is that what's in front of us tonight?
Yes, it's a request to review the possible alternatives.
It's really a discussion item because there's really 2 or 3 options, do nothing. The past 2 airport commission meetings, we've taken this item to the commission. I attended the first session, and what we've tried to do is come up with a way to preserve the grant funding that was allocated originally towards 4 T hangars that was then reallocated towards the larger 4 box hangars in the back that were more costly, that we thought we had private developers for, that in the end we did not, because the FAA does not allow for anything over a 30-year lease. Well, and at least 2 of those were looking for a 50-year lease. Subsequently, through conversations with our engineers and with the commission, we came up with the options that we have tonight. We're recommending the 5 hangars, and we'd like to get that project started and proceeded. That'll allow us to have the apron around the hangars, get a large box hangar at the end, 4 box hangars behind that, and then subsequently you can build T or box hangars or whatever is working better. The box hangars were the recommendation of the commission at the prior meeting, 2 meetings past, based on the discussion of the board. A little bit more room, you don't have the loft space of a T hangar, and thought they would rent for a little bit higher price. And I also received this past week some research that Commission Member Bradford had done on hangar rental fees. So we'll be taking a look at that as well. So it's our recommendation that we bring that forward, and Councilmember Brockett is on the commission as well, and it was the commission's concurrence that we move forward with this project in lieu of that, and preserve the grant funds. Our next project that we would be bringing forward would be the maintenance shed, but the FAA will not consider that project until the taxiway project is completed, which we hope to hear on in the very near future.
I mean, I would like to see what the commission recommends come forward. I'd agree with that. I think that's a good choice.
So they're asking, so what you're saying is the commission's requesting the 5 hangar unit or the 3 hangar unit?
So what we did is, at the original meeting I attended, we proposed 5. The engineers came back with a couple different options so that we could see what the pricing were. It's about $120,000 less to do 3 instead of 5. It seems like the recommendation at the meeting I attended was to do the 5, 4 smaller box with 1 larger on the end facing the runways or the taxiway.
What does 5 give us as far as rental units versus 3?
2 additional.
No, when you say that, when you say 3 hangar units, is that just 3 planes in it? Is it
so
3 rental
the first one is a
hangar unit have like 2 or 3 spaces in there for rentals?
Really, it's just in lieu of doing a T hangar. So they're 4 smaller planes. They're are they 60? Did we end up doing the 60-foot or the 50-foot? I think they're 60. I think, and so it allows for a little bit larger plane than our existing T hangars in the 4 box hangars, and then the one on the end allows for a larger plane.
So how many planes can fit in 1 unit? That's what I'm asking.
One. But it gets us a good start. Vertical infrastructure is hard to come by these days. This has been a priority for the airport and I think for the city to get this row going, and this gives us a good start going forward. Yes, it is costly, but it does preserve the grant funds. We have $600,000. I probably shouldn't even go there. That will be allocated towards the taxiway project. So we'll get the taxiway project, then get the maintenance building done, which will allow us to free up the Han hangar and then rent that out. And that'll be available for either one large plane or multiple planes to rent out. So that's kind of was the plan. That'll really free up space to do a number of hangars or a number of planes.
So, Michael, I have a question about this grant funding. Is there a deadline we have to say yes, no for this? Is there a time limit on this for starters?
So this has been going on for quite a while. We were originally awarded for applied for 4 T hangars, and then it was switched. So yes, they're looking for us to move forward on this project. I believe we received an extension until the end of this year to get it completed.
I'm for it on the concept, but somehow or another, I'd like to see a drawing of what we're doing. I mean, I can't see the vision of this. And I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner.
So are we requesting to have this put on an in-depth agenda?
We'll have to bring
or
this
what
back
is
for
it we're
council
trying
action.
to ask for here?
We'll have to bring it back for council action. Really, are you willing to invest in 3 hangars, 5 hangars, or would you like us to reject the grant proceeds at this point in time and move forward? Here's a few additional ones that show the 5 as well.
I'm a little, if I understand what you said correctly, the 5 hangar unit will only house 5 planes?
1 large and 4 smaller.
That's it's $100,000 per plane. We'll never get that money back, would we?
Rentals.
So we'll certainly be
And
looking
much.
at the rental rates, and well, not 150,000 in grant funds. There is no additional grant funds available. Did you have something to say?
I was just going to say that there was a lot of conversation at the last meeting, both about people wanting to upgrade, and there are actually 19 individuals on the wait list for hangar space at the airport, so.
Well, I don't deny there's a waiting list, but we're going to invest $100,000 per plane for hangars.
And the monthly rate is for rental?
I mean, what's the economic return on this, Nancy?
We don't have a rental rate yet, but we did look at the potential to do what was it, it would pay back in 10 years when we last looked at it? Right.
Well, and the other thing, if I can interject a little bit too, is that if we do this, then it allows us to then get the maintenance building done, which then allows us to turn a hangar that's now being utilized as a maintenance building into a hangar again, which can house multiple planes, not just a single plane.
Right. So now you're talking 9
the
instead
total,
of 5.
Exactly. So the total at the end of this, after this is done, is not this price for 5 planes. It's
8 plus 1 large plane.
right. So.
Right. And then we'll be able to continue to do this. This has been a lot. Yes, it's costly, but we've been trying to get this done. I don't know how long. Phil, maybe you know how long.
We've been trying to get it for a long time.
To get this done, and this is a way to preserve the grant funds and move forward. And then we can try to just keep adding on additional either T or box hangars as we go and the opportunity for grant funds arise.
So you want to vote on a request to put this on an in-depth?
I just need a consensus if you're, no, this is not a good idea, we'd like to do 5, and then we'll bring back the appropriate contract for design and the appropriate documentation at probably on the next regular meeting. But if there's no intent to move forward.
I want to move forward.
I do as well.
I support
I'm interested in moving forward with it.
I'm interested in moving forward, but I like to move forward. My mind would go to 3. If we, like Councilman Harvey says, this is a lot of money, and I need to see a return on investments too, especially with tax. I'd rather see streets repaired before I see the airport runway repaired. I'm just, that way.
But we have,
They're
that
different, I
has
think they're different
Different
buckets,
things.
so.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying.
I wouldn't want to compare that. I mean, if we want to continue to have an airport that functions, we need to put improvements into it, because otherwise the pilots are just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but like I said, I'd like to see a drawing of where we're going with this.
And the runway was just recently rebuilt. It's not 2 years old yet.
Yeah.
So,
And we're recommending 5 instead of the 3 because it's $100,000 difference, so you might as well
Right.
get
Yeah.
a bigger bang for your buck at that rate. That's the layout for the 5 hangars. And the apron around those hangars would then be completed as well as part of the project. And our next project is the middle portion of the taxiway that will be coming forward as well. And that's what the city's $600,000 in federal funds is sitting and waiting to match at this point in time.
And we haven't had vertical infrastructure monies for a long time. The airport building, the terminal building, was not paid by vertical infrastructure money. It was TIF monies, if I remember correctly. And that's been 15 years ago, at least.
I think it was longer than that, maybe 20.
Time flies when you're having fun. Probably it could be 20.
Yeah.
I do have another question. The size of these individual hangars are listed as 40 by 30. Is there, the question is, if you say you went 5 or 10 feet bigger in one direction or the other, could you put 2 planes, one tail in first and one prop in first, so that you could get 2 planes in a hangar? Because I've been in a lot of airports where they stagger the planes,
Well, you'd have
back
to
and
have
forth, and you can practically get 2 in the same space as one. Because there's a lot of wasted space because of the wings,
See how.
I wouldn't mind answering some of that a little bit if
right
that's
ahead.
all right. Okay, so basically what you run into with that is you would have to have one person with 2 planes to make that work, or you'd have to have 2 people that really liked each other to share that space and that could coordinate their schedules. Because what happens, and I've spoken to pilots, and this is why I wanted to interject, what happens if you try and stagger those planes, one person is going to have a hard time getting their plane out.
Now, they can roll the other guys out, get theirs out, and then roll it back in.
Do you want to? I mean, that's then it changes the how much people want that particular, how much people want those hangars, and so because I had proposed that to some of the pilots I'd talked to, and they were not interested in that. They want us, they're 1 hangar per person. So
I believe we have 1 person that has 2 hangars.
2 planes.
And 2 planes, therefore,
Yeah.
you'd have to have 2 planes. And I believe that individual's looking for a larger plane, so.
Yeah, I mean, with the larger hangar, where we're talking about situating multiple planes in it, it's got more room to move things around so that, but there is still, there may still run into some of that where they have to coordinate a bit or move someone else's plane a little bit. You don't really want to move someone else's plane. That's the other thing that I was told, because the second that, you ding anything, that's a real expensive fix.
Yeah.
So,
Well, granted, I may be way outdated, but in my hometown, their hangars were just one big long shed, and they would prop the tail, prop the tail, prop the tail, and, one air pilot is not going to ruin another guy's plane by moving it. I mean, they're more competent than that. And then you can get twice as many planes in practically the same area.
Those are T-hangars is what you're talking about.
No, they weren't T-hangers. Well, the building wasn't T-shaped, it was just one long shed, rectangular shed. One guy pulled his plane in prop first, and the other put his in tail first. They alternated, and there was a hell of a lot of planes in 150 feet of hangar.
Well, Nadine is our representative on the Airport Advisory Commission, so any advice you can give?
I would be most favored toward 5 hangars, 1 plane per hangar.
There you go. Well, it sounds like we're going to talk about this at an upcoming in-depth. We got a consensus.
And the
I'm
size
not-
was the
I'm not
recommend.
opposed to putting hangers in, I'm just thinking we could
I would go
get
with
more
the 5,
bang
though.
for our buck.
Well, yeah.
So all I'm gonna ask, and if we, you know, and I'm good with, I definitely wanna utilize the funding available. So I just want maybe the commissioner or if there's staff that can come up, give me the pluses and the minuses on each one. Help me understand why we wanna have the 5 versus the 3.
I think
and
that's what
what's-
we're gonna
what's the
talk
value.
about
That's what I'm saying.
at the
So
in-depth,
that's all
yeah.
I'm saying, just the pluses or minuses that we'll do in the in-depth. You know, if the $100,000 is gonna give us, it's gonna save us because we can get 2 more planes and then we're gonna be able to utilize the space for this better, that's all I'm asking.
That's really all it comes, so my plan is to bring back the engineering agreement, and that's really all it comes down to. It's $100,000 to do 2 additional ones, so you're talking 4 versus $300,000 in cost, and that's really, at the end of the day, all it came down to. We'd like to get this project done, and as Councilmember Brackett said, this will allow us to move on to the taxiway, the maintenance shed, and then have the ability, I believe you can put up to at least 4 planes in the Han building, or 1 very large plane.
Okay.
Which would be nice. If it was one big, large plane, that means somebody's doing it right in Muscatine.
All right, okay.
All right. Next, we're going to have a discussion regarding Carver Corner. Who's leading that? Jim? No?
There we go.
Sorry, you get me.
Go ahead.
Mayor and council, so tonight we're going to provide you with a draft of the request for proposals for the redevelopment of the Carver Corner. This RFP, we're looking for a partner to develop this unique site in a manner that maximizes the positive impacts in this location will have on our community. This is likely to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to pursue a project to serve as such a catalyst. So please take the next week to review the proposals, and next week's meeting will answer any questions and welcome your feedback. And just when you're looking at it, do know that I'm aware there are still formatting issues.
And that was really, we just wanted to get it out there, and we'll get it out on the web as well for the public. And give you an opportunity. We really didn't want to get into discussion. We wanted you to really have the opportunity to have time to review it, but to let the public know that this was going on as well, and to get your feedback. Because there's any number of concepts that could work down there. And I think what you'll see is that this allows for a broad based number of opportunities that could be brought back for consideration before the city council. And we're really following a model that from Iowa City that engages both the public and the council strongly in moving this project forward, because this, as Jody said, is a once-in-a-life opportunity for just over 7 acres, 7.4, I believe, somewhere around there, acres that we have on the riverfront. So please take a look at the RFP. We'll get it out on the website as well, and we'll be ready to dive into questions and answers and process at the next meeting.
This draft will be on the website?
Yes.
Good.
So this is going to be discussed at the in-depth next week?
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't there something else we were going to talk about at the in-depth next week also?
High Street. John's.
High Street
Yes,
Ways
John's thing. Yes.
And
Was there something else?
yes.
Pardon me?
Oh, Jim has a small item. And I just don't recall, I believe there's one other item as well. And then we also have a request from the Peace Park. But I spoke with Frank and indicated I wanted to see how much we had on the agenda. And I'd let him know that they attended the Park and Rec Commission meeting
March 12th?
last week.
Oh, last week.
Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, yesterday. So,
Okay.
Sounds like it is getting pretty full.
Will this, sorry, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, you're good.
Will this, Kevin send this out like he does with the other?
it'll be attached to the agenda. We'll send it out. And what do you mean?
Well, you said it was gonna be posted on the website, and I just didn't know if it was gonna, if Kevin was gonna put it in like one of his press
We'll
release type things.
Yeah,
or-
yeah. Well, I already sent Kevin an email.
Okay.
And that we want to make sure that we get it out. And I also thought about adding it to, we have that discussion page, and trying to utilize that so we could get feedback on the RFP and the process, and
Okay.
see if it would work. I suggested that in my email, and see if it was something that we could push to try and get public engagement
Okay, sounds good.
early in the process.
Oh, I have a quick question. Doesn't some of this development all depend on what type of roadway we choose to put through there, whether it's a sweep or a roundabout or something else?
Or vice versa. Much of the discussion following the roundabout discussion was, let's wait and see what develops before we look at the road. So that was that, and correct, yeah, certainly coordinate that development.
Okay, thank you.
I was thinking the last time Bolton and Mink talked about it, they said they were not recommending a roundabout in that area.
I think,
No, I don't think they said that. It remains one of the options. They said they were not recommending one down by Bogey Motors.
right.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
that's what I was
But-
thinking, okay.
but-
Samson.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think I also make the comment that if we have time, I wouldn't mind hearing from Frank at that in depth, if he's got, I mean, because if we're talking about this at that point, it seems to make sense if he's got something to add that, that for that group, because they seem to be, have quite a few
same
things
topic,
going on.
same
Right.
area, sure.
That's probably the other item I was thinking.
Okay, sure.
Okay, we're going to continue on with some communications. Councilman Harvey, do you have anything to share tonight?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Spread?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Councilman Malcolm?
Just one thing, Your Honor, I sent all the council members late this evening. Next week I will be away for disaster training and I will not be present next week.
Thank you. Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nothing at this time.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Salcedo?
I just had one request. I know we have Brian here, right, from Emergency County Management Group. I was wondering if he could come up for about 2 minutes and give us an update of where we're at on the river and the flooding, if that's okay. I know you didn't know that I was going to ask you for that, but
He's been keeping himself updated, and
he
all
keeps
of
us
us
up
as
to date.
well.
It's very good, and I
Very
really
good.
appreciate all the work you do. We share that a lot within the county and in the city.
Mayor and council, thank you. Yes, I'm the Muscatine County Emergency Manager. A lot of you know me prior to. I was with the Muscatine Fire Department for 36 years. And yes, I have been sending out a lot of that information that I've been getting from the National Weather Service.
Excuse me a minute, Brian. Can you move your microphone up a little bit? I want to make sure the folks at home can hear you well.
Certainly. Presently at this time, we're looking at a crest. It's been kind of fluctuating. It's about 21.6, 21.7. Is coming downstream, kind of expecting it around Sunday, Monday. Based on the information, looking, a lot of factors is, are we going to get significant rainfall maybe this weekend? So that's one of the key things that we're looking. I believe right now it's about our third crest. According to the Weather Service, they're going to, it's probably going to continue into mid-May. But I have been working, as mentioned, I've been sending out a lot of that information. Have been working with Mr. Steinman and Mr. Howell, just kind of keeping abreast of things. I do have webinars from the National Weather Service on Mondays, and I have gone out to Public Works and just kind of let them do that. So very good resource that I'm having with the Weather Service is kind of keeping, right now we're above major flooding. It's just kind of the course of being a river city right now.
So you mentioned the flooding in previous years. What was the highest that we had? That
1993 was 25.6.
And you said potentially in May. What is the forecast? And I know it's hard to tell, but just I know
think
you
it's
sent
gonna,
that in that list. That's why I'm trying to get the public.
According to the
see
Weather Service, it's gonna kind of fluctuate and just probably kind of run into that moderate again. We get our April showers. It could raise up. You know, it's just something that we're playing on. And as I've mentioned to the Board of Supervisors a couple weeks ago, we had significant snow packs in Minnesota and Wisconsin. That water or that snow has melted and it is traveling. It's probably right now, the crest is between Dubuque and Comanche. So we're just kind of moving with that.
It's not predicted for us to hit the 25, though, this year's my understanding.
Earlier last month, I would ask the Weather Service that, and we had a 50-50, but now things are still, a lot of that snowpack has gone. There was a lot of water consistency in it. We had a heavy freeze. We've had fall rains. You know, the ground is saturated, so there was a lot of things that were playing into it. Fortunately, the tributaries, the Wapsie, the Maquoketa River, they are going down. So hopefully we're just going to experience a typical river flood.
Good.
Good.
Good. Well, I
Your
appreciate
Honor,
it.
Yes, go
quick
ahead.
question. How are levees holding up?
I had not had a chance to talk to Jim, but I have talked to Brian. They do walk the levees, make sure a lot of that stuff is good. Jim, you have anything?
Not that I need another walk over here, but Mayor, Council, the levees are good. The extended, long, high water, there's seep water, especially the biggest problem that we have with that is at Musser Park. We have pumped that away, I think a couple times in our schedule to do it till this all goes away. But I would echo what he just said, and this is with both fingers, both of them crossed. Long-range weather forecasts look drier than normal. This thing should just porpoise around 21, somewhere in there, if this weather pattern we have right now that's been with us for a while holds. So.
Good.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Wait, I got one more quick thing, and it'll save me from getting up here when we have staff input.
Okay.
We have one casualty from the high water, the 48-inch culvert underneath Hauser at Musser Street, just south of Musser Street, for Briar's Ditch. Has transpired. It is failing, and I believe they might close that tonight. I am not sure, but it's sometime very soon. They're going to close that. It's going to be closed for a while. We're going to have to detour traffic on Musser to go around because the culvert wasn't in the greatest shape. But being underwater like this for this long period of time, it has finally decided to give up the ghost. So it's emergency repair that we have to do.
Thank you.
Oh, wouldn't walk completely away. When it's, I'm gonna have a
stay
question.
there.
Brian, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Are you talking about when it's your turn?
When it's my turn.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Is that
Your
all
Honor.
you had?
That's all I
Okay.
Thank you,
Councilman
Brian, too.
Brackett, do you
Okay.
have anything?
Yes, I had a couple of things. On 7th Street, where we did the work, did we sod those right-of-ways?
On 7th Street, the topsoil has been pulverized and put down. I don't know I know that's mostly complete, but not totally complete. I'd get maybe 80%, 85% complete. And we're looking to hydroseed that April 15th.
Okay, and we think that I just had some residents over there asking me about whether they were going to get sod or seed, and they had concerns about seed being sufficient.
It's going to be seed.
And it's going to be sufficient to grow back in? And
Yeah,
look nice?
yes.
They just,
yes. We've seeded the last year too.
okay,
So there was a huge differences of opinions between sod and seed. And at some point in time, it's the council's wish to have that debate. We can certainly have that debate, maybe in an in-depth session, but.
okay. I'm just passing along the concern, and the one resident in particular definitely had a lot of concern about whether the seed was going to take.
If they water it, they should end up with a pretty equal product.
Yeah, and actually being able to plan it this time of year, you're gonna have a lot better results.
Okay.
So,
Well, that sounds good. I'll pass that along if they don't catch it from this meeting. And then the other thing that I had that I think that you could answer for me, or at least it's more of a request, is to keep an eye on the water level that comes up in the neighborhood over kind of like behind where Lucas Communication is and the Kent, what used to be the hardware store over there.
Ace?
Yeah, behind that neighborhood over in there.
behind the Ace store there on,
just off Park
Grand,
Avenue,
thank you.
right? Yeah, on Grand, and right in that area, I had some residents over there asked me to come take a look at issues that they were having with a lot of water. Now, granted, this was during the ground was still, you know, I mean, it's pretty saturated and solid as we are well aware, but they had stated that this was not just that, you know, during that it's something that has been getting worse over time, and at least one resident's garage had about 2 inches of water in it because of all the water coming down the alley and then just going straight onto their property. So
I believe, I can't remember the property owner's name, but we dealt with that issue a couple of years ago, and that owner built in a hole, and there's not a whole lot that we can do. Now, Public Works did improve the drainage across from and under the street to help remove the water at a faster rate.
Okay.
For that homeowner, if I believe it's the same one. But that property, at least if it's the one I'm thinking, was built in a hole.
well, and that one at the time anyway, that was definitely not the only flooded property in the area. And so I'm just asking if we can pay close attention over there during this upcoming wet season that we're going to have. And the other thing too is in that area there are definitely some sewer entrance.
non-standard.
So, yeah, there's what I would consider dangerous if I had small children over there. So I would definitely like us to take a look at that if we could, and just see if there's any safety improvements we need to make in that area, because I wouldn't consider them safe, but I'm not an expert on that. So I defer to you to take a look at that for us. And
That's already scheduled from when that was brought up this winter, and it was completely covered over with ice and snow and stuff. And Dave and I are scheduled. Dave Pop, the new collection and drainage guy, are scheduled to go out there and look at that, specifically with regard to those inlets, and see what we can come up with and get it in there. So
that would be great. That's all I've got for you, Jim.
Okay, thank
you very much.
Thank you.
And then I did have one additional thing for Jody. I had a request from someone at the Clark House asking about saying that they used to have it. There used to be a cleaning person, but now they don't think there's a cleaning person. I kind of
Like janitorial staff?
Yes, somebody that used to vacuum, mop the floor, run the entrance like garage, elevators, things like that, and do some other janitorial services, and they had some concerns about things not being the same anymore.
So we have a part-time custodian at the Clark House who does that stuff as well as in-unit maintenance activities. We used to have an AARP that was assigned there. Unfortunately, we have been unable to get one assigned for 6 to 9 months probably, because the people they have working through AARP are unable to do some of the tasks that go along with cleaning and maintaining the common space at the Clark House.
Okay.
So that is true on some level, but it wasn't staff that we were paying for.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and is there any anticipation that we might be able to have somebody like that again?
We keep asking, and we keep
Okay.
trying to do that, and working with AARP. It just hasn't been so successful.
All right. I'll pass that information along, and then if there's any other questions, I'll let you know.
Can our staff person not handle the whole job? Does it need more help?
We've had a lot of turnover lately, and just like everything else with the weather and stuff, there's a lot of extra time put into the day-to-day and just keeping up with the vacuuming or the mopping of the common space, when just like here, they're pulling in the salt and the grime and stuff. So it has been a little more difficult. if you ask maintenance staff, yes, we could always use more maintenance staff, which I believe is true. The budget long-term, is a little dicey, so. So
That was all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Is it good? Staff, anything?
Just two quick items, Your Honor. We've been, or Kevin has been, started something tonight, and we're going to keep trying it to get a little bit more interaction on Facebook. You'll see a couple different posts the night of the council meeting. If you can't make it to the meeting, you can view the proceedings on YouTube or MPW Civic Channel 2. And you can also comment on the post, so it'll allow for live comments. As does YouTube. There's a second one with the council meeting is live and chat is opening. So Kevin is monitoring that, and he can shoot me a note, or I can keep it open. And if something on a particular topic comes up, we can utilize it. So we're going to kind of give it a shot and see if it works, and if we can get more people to participate.
All right.
Thank you. I just had a couple of quick things. First of all, I had a question. This is probably for Andrew from the Traffic Committee. So it used to be that if there was a particular area in the community that people were finding a lot of folks speeding, they could request a speed bump put in temporarily. Is that, and that they were told recently that we don't do that anymore. Is that correct? We don't do that anymore. So their best bet is just to...
They can't ask for the speed trailer.
The speed trailer to be put in their area?
Or
okay.
the
thing
car.
that says how fast people are going?
Or the ATE car.
Or the ATE car. Okay, sounds good. Reminder, tomorrow is Blue Out Day, so everybody wear blue. To remember that protecting children is everyone's business for child abuse prevention. April 15th is the Mayor's Youth Job Fair. We're going to be setting up shop at the Commons area at the high school and getting our summer youth to work. And we will actually be having that on our city show on Tuesday night, as well as Duffy DeFrance is going to come and talk about community gardens. Reminder, we're having an awesome symphony coming up, dueling batons. It should be amazing. And I just wanted to say, as far as some of our meal sites in town, this was Meals on Wheels Week. And so and in the last few years, I've gotten to ride along with the people who deliver the meals to our homebound people. And this year I chose to go to one of our meal sites, which was at Hershey Manor, and it was just amazing to see the volunteers come together and work to provide these meals to people. So a big shout out to all the volunteers that make those things doable to keep people in their homes as long as they possibly can. Thank you all for coming tonight. We would ask you to please excuse us. Council needs to move into closed session, so if you don't mind excusing us and exiting chambers so that we can get things set up and have a couple of brief meetings. Thank you.